Hey guys, Eternize here. Today what I want to share with you is the concept of using saturation on a hardstyle lead. Saturation is really one of those multi-purpose effects. And once you understand what it can do for your hardstyle leads, it can really raise the overall quality of your hardstyle lead. So jumping straight into it, what I have here is a bit with the main hardstyle lead. So what I've done so far is that I've exported each of these layers into their own separate layer here, so that we can focus on each of the layers without the randomness of the soft synths. So we have a top layer, we have a support layer, and then we have some chords. So what I want to do now is focus on this middle layer. So looking at this sound now, we can see that the bunch of the sound, or the core sound, is centered around the middle here. But then sometimes we have these spikes coming out, sticking out further, and this is the thing that I really want to focus on in this video. Because the thing is that on its own, these spikes are not really a problem, but they can become a problem now that we have multiple sounds stacked on top of each other. So to explain why, if you can imagine, you can imagine these spikes are happening at random many times each second. And so we also have to imagine that on the other layers here, on each of the layers in the lead and whatever else sounds you have in your project, these sounds can also produce these kind of spikes. And so at some point, since this is happening at random, the spikes at some point is going to line up. And you know, at lower volumes, it's not really a problem, but we also have to concern ourselves with loudness, because loudness today is like something that we have to focus on. We cannot ignore it, because if your music is not loud enough, it simply doesn't impress. That's the today's loudness standard. So we have to focus on it. So again, imagine that we have these sounds, multiple sounds, and in some cases many more sounds than this containing the lead. When these spikes are lining up, when they down the line is going to go into your compressor or your clipper or your limiter, you know, whatever you have on your lead bus managing the dynamics, this is bound to become a problem, because your compressor, your clipper or your limiter is going to have a hard time not distorting when you have multiple layers of these spikes coming in at it at the same time. So a good idea would be to manage these spikes on the individual layer in your lead sound. And one of the ways that we can do this is to use saturation, because saturation is an effect that can help reduce any spikes or any peaks in the audio signal. So what I'm going to do now is show you the effect that saturation can have on this lead sound. So for saturation on leads, I usually use inflator, and I like to use a setting like this where I use 100% effect. And then I reduce the output to around -3 decibels to counteract the effect that we are introducing by the inflator, so that we're left with the effect of the inflator, but the overall volume of the sound is not really changing. So I've introduced the effect of the inflator now, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to export this. I'm going to deactivate the inflator, and then we have the export with the inflator activated here. So what I want to do now is to compare the sound profile or the waveform of these two sounds. So if we focus on a spot like right here where we have a big spike. Now, if I drag this upper layer down on the bottom layer, you can see the difference. So what I want you to notice is that, again, the core of the sound, so if we focus on this bit right here, when I drag it down, so there is no notable change here when we focus on this part of the sound. But when we focus on the actual peaks, we can definitely see that it is reduced on the exported layer down here. So watch this. Again, a massive reduction in the spike here, but the overall character of the sound is not changed at all. So We are reducing the spikes, but keeping the overall sound. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare the two sounds to see if they actually sound different. So this is the original sound. And now the sound with the inflator on it. So as you can hear, there's almost no difference in the actual sound. But with the saturation, we have tamed a lot of the peaks, which again down the line is going to become a problem, or potentially is going to become a problem. Now what I want to do is really hammer this through, so I'm going to activate 5 inflators on this original sound and see what it does to the waveform. So I've activated all 5 of these with the same effect here, and then I'm going to export. And so like this, you can really see that it has reduced all of the spikes, so really shaved them off, so kind of the same as a clipper. But the inflator does this in a very transparent way. Again, it doesn't change the overall core of the sound, it only reduces the peaks through saturation. So if we compare these two sounds, so really impressive stuff. And what I like to do is placing the inflator on the individual layers, but you can use it on, if you have a lead bus with all of these sounds going into the same bus, you can use it on the lead bus as well, and in some cases that will give you the better result. And I think it's also important to say that saturation on every sound is not the way to go. You know, at some point you're going to learn that some sounds really is benefiting from using saturation, and some sounds it's actually making it worse. So using saturation also comes with a penalty, so it is taking away some of the dynamics. So for example, using saturation on a layer in your lead that is maybe responsible for some of the dynamics in your lead, this is probably not the best effect to go for in that specific layer, but maybe you can use it on the other layers. And of course, with anything, this effect can for sure be overdone, and it can totally take the life out of your lead sound if you're not careful. So again, it is affecting the dynamics, so be careful not to overdo this, but in many instances, this can save you from a lot of headache down the line when it comes to, again, the compressor or the clipper or limiter, either on your lead bus or on your master chain. So use it with care to maximize your lead sounds. Alright guys, that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. Please give it a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.